Ambassador Lee Hanna walked through the bright white halls of Nexus Prime. The giant space station floated in empty space between star systems. It was the place where all 4 to 7 alien races met to talk about galaxy problems. Hanna had been doing this job for 3 years now. She was the first human to speak for Earth in these meetings. Today felt different. Something was wrong, but she could not explain what it was. The other aliens looked at her the same way they always did. Some ignored her. Others watched her like she might do something stupid. Humans were still new here. Most aliens thought humans were too young and too violent to be important. Captain Park Min-ho was waiting for her outside the meeting room. He was her helper and gave her important information. His face looked worried. This was not good. Min-ho never looked worried unless something was really bad. What is it? Hanna asked quietly. Min-ho handed her a small computer tablet. More colonies have stopped talking to us. 3 more this week. All of them were on the edge of the galaxy, far from here. Hanna looked at the screen. Red dots showed where colonies used to be. Now those places were silent. No radio signals. No trade ships. No messages asking for help. Just nothing. The pattern was clear if you knew how to look for it. Something was moving through space, and everywhere it went, people disappeared. How many is that now? She asked. 26 star systems in the last 6 months, Min-ho said. The other aliens say it is just bad communication equipment. They think the people are fine and will call back soon. Hanna shook her head. She had read all the reports. The few ships that escaped from those areas told scary stories. They talked about something called the hunger. It ate everything. Not just food or metal, but entire planets. Entire civilizations. Then it moved to the next place. But when the refugees tried to tell the Galactic Council, nobody listened. The big alien races had been peaceful for so long that they forgot what real danger looked like. They thought everything could be fixed with meetings and paperwork. The meeting room was huge. It could hold thousands of aliens from different worlds. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of crystal or light. A few looked almost human, but with different colored skin or extra arms. They all sat in special chairs made for their bodies. Hanna took her seat in the human section. It was small compared to the other areas. Humans only had 1 planet and a few space colonies. The Korathan Empire had hundreds of worlds. The Etherians controlled entire regions of space. But size did not always mean strength. Hanna had learned that lesson well. The meeting started with boring topics. Trade agreements between planets. Rules about mining asteroids. Complaints about space pirates stealing cargo ships. Normal problems that could be solved with normal solutions. But Hanna was thinking about the red dots on her tablet. The pattern was getting bigger. Whatever was destroying those colonies was moving toward the center of the galaxy. Moving toward Earth. Moving toward all of them. She raised her hand to speak. The room got quiet, but not in a good way. Many aliens made annoyed sounds. The Ultrian delegate whispered something to his friend about dramatic humans being a waste of time. Chairman Veltar was in charge of the meetings. He was from a race that looked like walking trees made of crystal. His body flashed different colors when he talked. Right now, the colors were showing that he was not happy. Ambassador Lee, he said in a voice that sounded like breaking glass. Do you have something important to share? We have many items to discuss today. Hanna stood up. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her voice calm. Yes, Chairman. I need to talk about the Outer Rim colonies. More annoyed sounds from around the room. The Etherian delegate, who was made of pure energy inside a force field, pulsed with bright colors. Hanna had learned this meant they thought she was being stupid. The situation on the frontier is being handled through proper channels, said the Korathan representative. He looked like a huge lizard wearing fancy clothes. There is no need for alarm. Proper channels? Hanna asked. 26 star systems have gone completely silent. Billions of people have disappeared. When exactly do we start being alarmed? The room erupted in arguments. Some aliens said humans always worried too much. Others said the missing colonies were probably just having equipment problems. A few suggested that humans were making up stories to get more attention in the council. But Hanna had proof. Her people had been watching and studying and preparing. While the other races held meetings and made committees, humans had been getting ready for something the rest of the galaxy refused to see. Dr. Kim Ji-woo entered the room carrying more tablets and data screens. She was humanity's best scientist for studying aliens and space threats. Her research had uncovered the truth about what was happening on the rim. The pattern is clear, Hanna said, activating the big display screen in the center of the room. Something is systematically destroying every form of life it encounters. And it is getting closer to all of us. The images on the screen showed star charts and mathematical predictions. If the pattern continued, the core worlds would be attacked within 5 years. Earth had maybe 7 years before the threat reached human space. But looking around the room, Hannah could see that most aliens still did not believe her. They had lived in peace for so long that they could not imagine anything that would require them to fight. She realized that when the time came, humanity might have to stand alone against whatever was coming for them all. The big screen in the center of the room came alive with numbers and star maps. Hannah pressed buttons on her control pad, and the display showed the missing colonies in red. Lines connected them, showing how the disappearances moved across space like a disease spreading through the galaxy. This is not random, Hannah said, pointing at the screen. Look at the pattern. Whatever is doing this moves in a straight line. It takes everything from one star system, then moves to the next closest one. Dr. Kim Ji-woo stepped forward with her research tablet. She was nervous speaking to so many powerful aliens, but her scientific training kept her focused. We have studied the few ships that escaped from these areas. Their stories all match. They describe something that does not just destroy planets. It absorbs them completely. The screen changed to show a timeline. Each red dot appeared with a date next to it. The pattern was getting faster. What used to take months between attacks now took only weeks. We call it the hunger, Ji-woo continued. Based on survivor reports, it is not a normal army or alien race. It seems to eat everything it touches. Metal, rock, plants, animals, people. Even the air and water disappear. Chairman Veltar's crystal body flashed orange and yellow colors. Hannah had learned this meant he was thinking hard about something that worried him. But his words did not match his colors. Dr. Kim, he said carefully, these are very serious claims. Do you have solid proof? Real evidence that we can examine? Ji-woo nodded and activated another part of the display. This showed actual video messages from ships that had escaped the destroyed colonies. The images were fuzzy and broken, but they showed the same thing over and over. In the videos, normal planets with cities and farms suddenly went dark. The stars around them started to dim. Then everything just vanished, leaving empty space where worlds used to be. The ships recording these videos were running away as fast as they could. The mathematical model shows a clear progression, Hannah said, changing the screen again. If this continues at the current rate, it will reach the Corathan border worlds in 38 months. The Etherian energy fields will be consumed in 4 to 2 months. The core civilizations have less than 5 years. The room became very quiet. Even the aliens who usually made noise when they disagreed stopped moving. The Altrian delegate leaned forward in his chair, studying the numbers on the screen. But then the Zeltharian chancellor spoke up. He looked like a giant octopus with too many tentacles, and his voice sounded like water bubbling. Ambassador Lee, these predictions assume the pattern will continue exactly the same way. But space is big. Maybe this hunger thing will go in a different direction. Or maybe it will just stop, added the Meridian representative. Unknown phenomena often burn themselves out naturally. We should not panic over something that might solve itself. Hannah felt frustration building in her chest. These aliens had lived in safety for so long that they could not imagine a real threat. They always found reasons why problems would go away by themselves. The survivors we interviewed said something else, Ji-woo said quietly. They said the hunger learns from what it consumes. Every civilization it destroys makes it smarter and stronger. She changed the display to show a comparison chart. The early attacks had been simple and slow. But the recent ones happened much faster and with more advanced techniques. Whatever the hunger was, it was using the knowledge of its victims to become more dangerous. Minister Oh Seung-ho stood up from the Human Observer section. He was in charge of Earth's military planning. His presence at the meeting had made many aliens uncomfortable because most races had given up having armies long ago. The Council needs to understand something important, Seung-ho said in his deep voice. Humanity has experience with existential threats. Our planet taught us that sometimes peaceful solutions are not enough. Sometimes you must fight or die. The Etherian delegate pulsed with bright angry colors. Minister O, the galaxy has enjoyed 2 centuries of peace under the Council's guidance. We will not abandon our principles because of unconfirmed reports from the frontier. 2 centuries of peace, Hannah repeated slowly. And in that time, how many species have forgotten how to defend themselves? How many have destroyed their weapons and dismissed their guards? The question hung in the air like a bad smell. Most of the aliens in the room shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The truth was that almost all of them had given up their military forces generations ago. They depended on the Council's peacekeeping system and diplomatic solutions. The Corathan representative slammed his scaly fist on his chair's armrest. Are you suggesting that we humans, who joined this council only 3 years ago, know better than civilizations that are thousands of years old? I am suggesting, Hannah said calmly, that sometimes being old and wise means you forget how to be young and strong. Humanity remembers what it takes to survive because we had to learn it the hard way. The debate that followed was loud and angry. Some aliens accused humans of being warmongers who wanted to destroy the peace. Others suggested that the missing colonies were probably just a communication problem that would be fixed soon. But Hannah noticed that a few delegates were studying the data more carefully now. Representatives from worlds closer to the Outer Rim were asking their assistants to run their own calculations. The fear was starting to spread, even if slowly. When the session ended, Hannah knew that nothing had been decided. The council would form committees to study the problem. They would send diplomatic missions to investigate. They would follow all their normal procedures while the hunger continued to consume everything in its path. Time was running out, and the galaxy's leaders were still playing politics while their worlds prepared to die. 3 weeks had passed since Hannah first showed the council the evidence about the hunger. 3 weeks of committee meetings, paperwork, and endless discussions that led nowhere. While the aliens talked and argued, 2 more star systems had gone silent. The red dots on the galaxy map were getting closer to the populated worlds. Hannah stood in her small office aboard Nexus Prime, looking out the window at the stars. Each point of light represented millions or billions of lives. Soon, many of those lights would go dark forever if the council continued to do nothing. Captain Park Min-ho entered with a secure datapad in his hands. His expression was grim, which meant the news was bad. Ambassador, we just received word from Admiral Yoon Taehyung. Earth Command has authorized me to give you the classified files. Hannah took the pad and scrolled through the information. What she saw made her heart race. While she had been trying to convince the council with words, humanity had been preparing for war. Hidden shipyards built inside asteroids. Weapons research that violated several galactic treaties. Battle fleets positioned in secret locations throughout human space. How long has this been going on? She asked. Since the day we joined the council, Min-ho replied. High Command never trusted that peace would last forever. They remembered Earth's history. They knew that sooner or later, something would threaten everything we had built. The files showed detailed battle plans for defending not just human worlds, but every major civilization in the galaxy. Humanity had studied each alien species, learned their strengths and weaknesses, and figured out how to protect them even if they would not protect themselves. There is more, Min-ho said. He activated a holographic display showing a massive fleet of human warships. They were not like the elegant, peaceful vessels that most aliens used for transportation. These ships were built for fighting. They had thick armor, powerful weapons, and designs that prioritized survival over beauty. General Kang Minji appeared as a hologram, broadcasting from the command bridge of a warship somewhere in deep space. His uniform was military gray instead of the diplomatic blue that Hannah wore. Behind him, she could see busy crew members working at combat stations. Ambassador Lee, the general said with a respectful nod. Earth Command has decided it is time to reveal what we have been building. The Council's inability to act has forced our hand. Hannah stared at the hologram. General, if I show them this, it will change everything. They will never trust us again. Trust? Minji laughed, but there was no humor in it. Ambassador, the hunger will reach the core worlds in less than 5 years. Trust will not matter if everyone is dead. That afternoon, Hannah walked into the council chambers carrying the weight of humanity's secret. The other delegates were discussing minor trade disputes and cultural exchange programs. Normal peacetime problems that seemed almost childish now. She stood up and activated the central display without asking permission. The familiar star charts appeared, but this time they included new information. Human fleet positions, weapons capabilities, and defensive strategies that covered the entire galaxy. Honored delegates, Hannah began, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. For 3 weeks, we have debated and discussed while the hunger has consumed 2 more civilizations. The time for committees has ended. The time for studies has ended. The time for diplomatic solutions has ended. The room grew quiet. Even the aliens who usually ignored human speeches were paying attention now. There was something different in Hannah's voice. Something final. The time for war has come, she declared. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Delegates jumped from their seats, shouting in dozens of different alien languages. Chairman Veltar's crystal body flashed angry red colors as he pounded his gavel, trying to restore order. "This is outrageous," screamed the Corathan representative. "How dare a species that joined this council 3 years ago presume to lecture civilizations that have maintained peace for millennia?" The Etherian delegate pulsed with colors that Hannah recognized as shock and betrayal. "You have been secretly militarizing while pretending to support our peaceful values." Hannah waited for the noise to die down before responding. When she spoke, her words were calm and clear. "We have been preparing to defend our new home. All of it. Every world, every species, every life in this galaxy." The display changed to show humanity's analysis of each alien civilization's military capabilities. The numbers were embarrassing. Most races had fewer than a dozen combat-capable ships. Some had none at all. They had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten how to fight. While your species evolved in peaceful environments, Hannah continued, humanity emerged from a world where survival meant understanding conflict. We learned that sometimes, to preserve life, you must be prepared to take it. General Kang's hologram appeared beside her, making many delegates step back in fear. Human military officers were rare in the council chambers. "We did not want this responsibility," he said. "But when we saw the threat approaching, we made a choice. We chose to remember what we were, so that all of you could remain what you have become." The Altrian delegate pointed an accusatory finger at Hannah. "You have been spying on us. Learning our weaknesses. Planning to conquer us. Planning to protect you," Hannah corrected firmly. "Every strategy you see here is defensive. Every weapon we built is designed to preserve life, not take it. But we will not apologize for being prepared." The Zeltharian Chancellor's tentacles writhed in agitation. "Even if this threat is real, we cannot abandon our principles. Peace has served us well for centuries." Hannah looked around the chamber at the faces of beings from across the galaxy. Some showed fear, others anger, and a few showed something that might have been understanding. "Then you will die peacefully," she said simply. "But humanity will not. We will fight, with or without you. The question is whether you want to survive what is coming, or whether you want to maintain your principles while everything you have built turns to ash." The Galactic Council broke apart like glass hitting a stone floor. Within 6 hours of Hannah's speech, angry delegates were packing their belongings and leaving Nexus Prime. Some went back to their homeworlds to report what the humans had revealed. Others stayed to argue and shout accusations. 11 species announced they were joining humanity's war coalition. Most of these were smaller races from the Outer Rim who had seen refugees from the Hunger's attacks. They knew the threat was real because they had watched their neighbors disappear. The remaining 36 species stayed loyal to the traditional council. They called humanity dangerous and said the war coalition was a threat to galactic peace. Emergency sessions were held to discuss removing humans from the council completely. Admiral Park Sun-woo arrived at Nexus Prime 2 days after the split. He commanded the largest human battle fleet, and his ship docked at the station despite protests from council security. The other aliens had never seen a real warship up close. The human vessel was covered in weapons and thick armor plating. It looked like it was built to survive anything. "Ambassador," Sun-woo said when he met with Hannah in her office. "Earth Command wants you to coordinate the coalition's political side while I handle military operations. We need to move fast." Hannah looked at the star charts on her wall. The red dots showing the Hunger's advance had grown larger. "How much time do we have?" "Less than we hoped. Our deep space scouts detected massive energy signatures moving toward the middle sectors. Whatever the Hunger is, it is not slowing down." The coalition's first meeting was held in a conference room that felt empty compared to the Grand Council chambers. Representatives from 12 species sat around a simple table. There were no fancy chairs or ceremonial decorations. Just people trying to figure out how to save their worlds. Captain Lee Jian represented the Rigel Colony Alliance. His people lived on mining worlds near the danger zone. "Our evacuation ships are already moving civilians to safer areas," he reported. "But we cannot save everyone if the Hunger moves faster than expected." The Centaurian delegate was a tall, thin alien with blue skin and 4 arms. "Our defense platforms are old and weak. We built them to stop pirates, not something that eats entire star systems." Dr. Seo Yuna had spent weeks studying data from the destroyed colonies. She stood to present her latest findings, and her news was worse than anyone expected. The Hunger is not just consuming matter and energy. It is learning from every civilization it destroys. Each victory makes it smarter and more dangerous. She activated a holographic display showing the progression of attacks. Early encounters had been slow and clumsy. The hunger had taken weeks to fully consume each world. But recent attacks happened in days or even hours. It now uses technologies stolen from its victims, Una explained. Faster engines from the vegan shipbuilders. Energy weapons from the Tau Ceti Defense Force. Defensive shields from the Proxima research stations. It is becoming unstoppable. Meanwhile, the main council continued meeting as if nothing had changed. They formed new committees to study the Outer Rim situation. They allocated funds for diplomatic missions to establish contact with the hunger. They debated the legal implications of the coalition's military preparations. The Corothan Empire's representative gave daily speeches about maintaining traditional values. We will not be intimidated into abandoning our peaceful principles, he declared. The galaxy has prospered under the Council's guidance for 2 centuries. But privately, some council members were starting to worry. The Altrian delegate had quietly ordered his people to review their old military records. The Etherians began discussing emergency defense measures in closed sessions. The first real battle came sooner than expected. Commander Choi Woojin was leading a squadron of human ships to evacuate the Proxima Centauri colonies when his sensors detected something massive approaching from deep space. Coalition Command, this is Strike Group 7, Woojing's voice crackled over the communication system. We have contact with hostile forces. Repeat, we are engaging the hunger. Admiral Sunwoo watched the battle from the Coalition's command center. The tactical display showed Woojing's 12 ships facing something that defied easy description. It was not a normal fleet of separate vessels. Instead, it looked like a single enormous organism made of metal and energy. The human ships opened fire with everything they had. Their weapons were designed based on Earth's military history, updated with alien technology borrowed from Coalition partners. Missiles, energy beams, and kinetic projectiles all struck the hunger's mass. For a moment, it seemed to work. Parts of the enemy formation broke apart under the assault. But then something terrible happened. The damaged sections began to rebuild themselves, growing back stronger than before. It is adapting to our weapons, Woojin reported, his voice tense with concentration. Shields are adjusting to our energy frequencies. Hull composition is changing to resist our kinetic rounds. 3 human ships were destroyed in the next wave of attacks. The hunger's weapons seemed to anticipate exactly where each vessel would move. It was learning their tactics in real time. All units, retreat to safe distance, Sunwoo ordered. We need to rethink our approach. As news of the battle spread, panic began to grip both the Coalition and the main council. The hunger had shown that it could defeat humanity's advanced military forces. Worse, it was now moving toward the populated core worlds faster than anyone had predicted. The Corothan Empire suddenly announced they wanted to discuss rejoining the Coalition talks. The Etherians began emergency military preparations for the first time in 300 years. But it might already be too late. Long-range sensors detected the hunger's main force approaching the galaxy's middle sectors. It was larger than anything anyone had imagined, and it was heading straight for the heart of galactic civilization. The final battle did not happen where anyone expected. The hunger's main force had found a way to jump through space using technology it had stolen from destroyed civilizations. Instead of slowly moving through the outer regions, it appeared directly in the Sol system, right next to Earth. Admiral Park Sunwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the impossible sight on his screens. The hunger filled space around Earth's moon like a dark cloud made of metal and energy. It was so large that it blocked out the stars behind it. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Park, he spoke into his communication device. The enemy has bypassed our outer defenses. We make our stand here, at humanity's birthplace. No retreat. No surrender. Ships from across the galaxy had finally come to help. The proud Corothan Empire sent their ancient battle cruisers. The Etherians contributed energy weapons that could tear holes in space itself. Even the peaceful Altarians brought medical ships to help wounded crews. But it was too little, too late. The hunger had grown stronger with each world it consumed. Now it was powerful enough to challenge the entire galaxy at once. Ambassador Lee Hanna had traded her diplomatic clothes for military armor. She coordinated the defense from the command center of the human flagship, watching tactical displays that showed thousands of ships moving into battle formation. Captain Yu Jiwan, take your destroyer squadron around the enemy's left flank, she ordered. Try to create an opening for our main assault. The young captain's face appeared on her screen. He was barely 30 years old, but his eyes showed the determination that had kept humanity alive through countless wars on Earth. Understood, Ambassador. We will clear you a path. The battle began with a massive exchange of weapons fire. Human missiles streaked across space toward the Hunger's dark mass. Alien energy beams cut through the darkness like brilliant swords. For a moment, it seemed like the combined fleet might actually have a chance. But the Hunger had learned from every previous encounter. Its defenses adapted to each weapon type within seconds. Missiles exploded harmlessly against shields that changed their composition to resist the attacks. Energy beams were absorbed and redirected back at the ships that fired them. It is using our own weapons against us, reported Dr. Kim Ji-woo from her position at the science station. Every tactic we try, it learns and counters immediately. Captain Choi Woojing's voice came over the communication system, filled with static from battle damage. My ship is badly hit, but we are still fighting. The enemy is concentrating its main attack on the coalition forces. Hannah realized what was happening. The Hunger recognized that humans were the primary threat. It was focusing its deadliest attacks on human ships while treating the other alien vessels as secondary targets. All human commanders, she announced over the fleet communication network. The enemy considers us the main threat. That means we are doing something right. Keep fighting. But the cost was terrible. Every few minutes, another human ship disappeared from the tactical display. Brave crews who had volunteered to protect not just Earth, but every world in the galaxy, were dying in the cold vacuum of space. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Seo Yuna had been studying the Hunger's behavior patterns when she noticed something important. Ambassador, it has a central control node. All the smaller parts receive orders from a single location deep inside the main mass. Admiral Sunwoo immediately understood the implications. If we can destroy the control center, the entire organism might collapse. But getting through its defenses would be suicide. Hannah looked at the tactical display showing the Hunger's position. It was surrounded by layers of defensive systems that had already destroyed dozens of attacking ships. But there was one small opening, barely large enough for a single small vessel. Prepare a fighter craft with our most powerful experimental weapons, she ordered. I will pilot it myself. Ambassador, you cannot, Captain Park Min-ho protested. You are too valuable to the coalition. Let someone else make this run. No, Hannah replied firmly. I brought humanity into this war. I convinced our allies to fight beside us. If someone has to make the final sacrifice, it should be me. She climbed into the small fighter craft, its cargo bay loaded with experimental weapons that Dr. Yuna's team had developed. The plan was simple but desperate. Get close enough to the Hunger's control center to deploy the weapons, even if it meant certain death. The fighter launched from the flagship's hangar bay and immediately came under intense attack. The Hunger recognized the threat and concentrated its firepower on the tiny ship. But human engineering and pilot skill kept the craft alive long enough to reach its target. This is Ambassador Lee, Hannah transmitted to the entire fleet as her ship penetrated the Hunger's outer defenses. We did not choose to be warriors in a universe that demanded peace. But when that peace was threatened, we chose to remember what we were, so that others could remain what they had become. The experimental weapons detonated deep inside the Hunger's control center. The massive organism convulsed and began to break apart. Across space, its various components lost coordination and started attacking each other instead of the coalition fleet. Within hours, the Hunger was completely destroyed. But the victory had cost nearly 60% of the human fleet, including Ambassador Hannah herself. The new Galactic Compact was signed among the wreckage of the old order. Its founding principle reflected humanity's hard-learned lesson: eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. Memorial stations built at the battle sites carried the names of those who died defending life itself. And throughout the galaxy, when people looked up at the stars, they remembered the species that had saved them all.